Marvel's Eternals has officially gotten its cinema score. This, of course, is completely different than Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes takes an aggregate from critics. CinemaScore polls audiences that are exiting the film. And this film, again, is not doing so good when it comes to general audiences, as it has a B CinemaScore, making it the lowest ranked MCU film to date. So we've talked about this before. If you're new here, CinemaScore does things very differently. You can't pretend that you saw the film or just go out there and give them a review and say, trust me, bro, I saw it. And then you get something like the audience scores and all that, like on Rotten Tomatoes, which can be manipulated. CinemaScore does this in person. They go to theaters, and as people are exiting the film, they ask them what they thought, they fill out a short survey, and they come up with a score. Generally, an A is very much what you would expect from a top tier film, right? A film that many people enjoy. A minus, there's been plenty of those. Once you get into the B's, this is where things get questionable, because a B, this is typically reserved for those films that are divisive. You know, we've seen plenty of films in the past that get this, and people are always like, oh, I like this film, or I hate this, and there's always a war between fans, critics, and everybody involved. Well, as it turns out, if you compare Eternals to everything else, it's definitely the lowest ranking of the MCU films so far in response from the audiences. So, for example, some films, and I'm just going to go throughout some of the more divisive ones. Let's say The Incredible Hulk, A-, Iron Man 2, A, Captain America, The First Avenger, A-, Ant-Man, A, Ant-Man and the Wasp, A-, Captain Marvel, A, Black Widow, A-, Eternals, B. It's the only one that has that. Even Thor: The Dark World has an A-. The only other film that's even close to this would be the first Thor, which still had a B+, which again is better than Eternals, and people quite clearly liked Thor: The Dark World more than the first Thor upon exit polls. But again, the opinion has somewhat shifted, so maybe that will happen here. The big takeaway here is, though, audiences, again, if you look at everywhere where they're talking about it, it's all over the place. It really is, and it's kind of shocking. But again, I think this film, just by looking at it and seeing, the response we've seen in our group, and what we've seen from general audiences talking about it, and in replies to comments where CinemaScore was posted, or Variety, for example, or Rotten Tomatoes, people are definitely on either I hate this or I love it. So it's going to be an interesting one, and I think all scores are reflecting this. From Rotten Tomatoes to the audience score to now the cinema score, it's all telling the same picture and the same story, and that's divisive.